You know, it tumbles out of one's mouth on occasions such as this. It's so good to be in Austin, Winnipeg, London. And you think, where the heck am I? But I know I'm in Austin. Because last night I had a great night of food and music. That this combination can only be had here in Austin. And I believe it. And furthermore, at dinner last night, somebody bought my table a round of drinks. And listen to this, at breakfast this morning, someone in the dining room paid for my breakfast, and my partners too.
Wow!
This is how I feel. A kind of pattern has been established here. Walk around. That's not in my contract. It says stand and answer questions. Okay, I'll walk around. I can talk and walk at the same time. You would be amazed how many actors can't. They can talk or they can walk. Don't ask them to do both. And then there are those. And then there are And then there are those actors who cannot keep still when they talk. You know what? And now I'm going to mention no names. There is someone in a very successful television show who I could mention, but I won't, because I respect my profession. But next time you're watching television, look out. You know, because it's impossible to keep their heads still when they That was unkind, and I regret it already. So where were we? Oh yes, being bought free things. A pattern has been established here. Free drinks, free breakfast. Lunchtime is approaching.
I volunteer!
And then there's tea time and dinner time, entertainment tonight, all that. So all offers gratefully received, but they will probably be rejected. Because, you know, that's the kind of person I am. I just talk and it doesn't mean anything at all. That's the nature of stand-up, isn't it? Except I am not a stand-up person. I have to tell you, and by the way, it really is a pleasure, and I did have a great night last night, listening to some really fantastic music, and everything felt really good about it. Not the whole day, however. Have you ever flown when there's been one of those people sitting close to you, maybe not even right alongside, and they start talking the moment they sit down in a voice that could penetrate steel, and they, I mean, I wouldn't mind if what they talked about was interesting. But yesterday afternoon, flying from Newark, this guy got on the plane, and we were in first class. I have to confess it. I know I am a man of the people. When it comes to air travel, to hell with the people. So this guy, we had put our two modest-sized wheelies into the overhead bin. And it was a shallow bin because it wasn't a very big plane, and so they just kind of went in sideways, you know, lengthways. And then this guy got on the plane, and he had this bag, big bag, and he looked around, and he looked in our bin, and he reached up and he dragged our bags out of the bin, put them down on the floor, put his bag in, and then jammed, I mean literally, jammed our bags back in the other way, the narrow way around. When my partner said, hey, what are you doing? And he said, oh, they'll fit, they're going to do it this way. And then he sat down and started to talk to the poor guy next to him. What was the subject of his diatribe? Plane trips I have taken. Where from? Where to? How many changes? Did he get an upgrade? What was the quality of the food? How late was the plane? And I swear to you, from waiting for the door to close, taxiing, to take off, he had to raise his voice a little bit because the noise got a little bit louder. And for another hour of flight. And this guy next to him never spoke. Occasionally, you'd hear him go, That was all he talked about, air trips he had taken. And I worked how to get my own back on him. I was planning tapping him on the shoulder and saying, excuse me, sir, could you speak a little quieter or change the topic? But then I realized that the air nozzles in the ceiling were really adjustable. And I was blasting air and I was cold, so I turned it straight onto his head. And I did the same with the other one. And his hair was going... Somewhere this morning in Austin, I hope he has a really bad cold. Little guy, what's the matter? Oh, he's okay. Maybe he didn't want to be here. No, sometimes that's something you have to accept, when you're... Sometimes there are people who actually do not want to see you or hear you talk. Who knows? Have a good life. They never told me. Are we doing questions? Is this part of the deal? Anybody here? No, I've been deserted. They're all at lunch. I'm having barbecue delivered.
Where?
Where from?
Yeah.
A barbecue place.
They're not all the same.
Spinnies, slimies, smileys, spinnies. It is. Yeah, maybe that was it. But funnily enough, there was a long piece. I am obsessed with travel supplements in newspapers. For years and years and years, I've been cutting things out of travel. Hotels, resorts, interesting things to do, kayaking in, wherever. And I have this filing system. And I've been doing this now for over 20 years. And I do take vacations from time to time. I go to some interesting places. I have never once looked at my filing system. Why do I do this? Why do I go on obsessively cutting these things out when I never consult? And of course, within a couple of years, they're out of date. But, I've got a whole filing cabinet of travels. But there was one in the London Observer last Sunday about the United States, and particularly a whole page featuring Austin. Well, not so much Austin as this corner of Texas. So it was actually about a really nice sort of 5-day car trip to take. And it included Austin and Lockhart. Yeah. Good barbecue in Lockhart. Yeah. The best. Yeah. Anyway, oh, I see now. There's a cue, and there is a microphone. Yes. And there are going to be questions. So let's go. First one, please.
What do you like best about Star Trek and the Star Trek universe?
My friends. John, Brett, Michael, LeVar, Marina, Gates, Will, eventually, I got to like him. I was the only one who liked him from the start. The other didn't like him. Get the kid off the show. I hear that all the time. Frank saying, get the kid off the show. LeVar, hey man, the kid's not cool. Dawn, Will who? Yeah, so that's the simple answer to your question. Oh, you're gone. Okay. You had to be somewhere. My friends, that's what I like most about Star Trek. And you guys. Next question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, first of all, for giving us your talents and such. I've been watching you since Excalibur through Star Trek. Amazing. My question...
Sorry, what are you wearing?
Actually, I made this myself. It's actually the Red Death.
You made the Red Death yourself? You know, whatever somebody just did to the lighting, could you redo it or undo it? Because I'm now standing in the spotlight and I can't see you. And I liked it the way it was. I'm really sorry about this, but if anybody back there is listening and they know where my sweater is, if they would bring it out to me, I'd really appreciate it because it's cold in here. And bring sweaters for everybody else. And he actually put on his sweater. I mean, like an ordinary person. All right, Red Death, tell us what you want to know.
We obviously all know and love Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future.
Yep.
How do you feel that we as a people are coming to reaching that idealistic goal?
Well, that's a big question.
Thanks to Will Wheaton. He had asked that to Gene Roddenberry in 1990, so I have a point of trying to ask everyone else.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that the world, which often feels to be taking, you know, 2 steps forward and 1 step back, is doing better. Step by step, it is becoming a better place, despite the despair that I sometimes feel as I open my newspaper every morning and read through it or listen to the news, when it all so often seems to be bad. We have not reached Gene's utopian vision yet, and we may not until the 24th century. But in many other respects, certainly scientifically, we are. There was a piece, I think, in the Guardian, the London newspaper, in which they were saying, because we had a big convention in London, huge convention last weekend, where are we actually as far as, you know, time travel goes, replicators, phasers, scanners and so forth. And with each one of these, they were able to list research work that is going on, many of them in English universities, which made me feel great as I'm chancellor of an English university. And I just hope that the that area of the world to do with human rights, civil rights, everywhere begins to catch up with some of the technical advances that have been made, then I would really begin to feel better about all of us. Thank you, sir. Do you mind my sitting here? Because I hate that spotlight in my face. If I go over there, you know who I am, don't you? Yes, question.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for coming and for answering questions. I'm incredibly excited about the opportunity to do this. I would like to know, I know that you have been a very outspoken advocate for domestic violence awareness and prevention and education. And as an educator and a feminist activist myself, I would really like to know what advice you have to give to advocates and educators, to give to young people, young men in particular, who really do look up to you about the whole prevention topic.
Well, it has to begin with talking to them and treating them as individuals, perhaps a little older and more mature than they might appear to be. In my experience, that generally works. Treat a 12-year-old as if he was 16, and he might just possibly behave like a 16-year-old. Although, as a good friend of mine said not long ago, teenagers are not people. Education. And I know in a lot of American schools, ethics are taught here as a matter of course. The importance of abolishing gender discrimination and sexism and racism in all its forms. All of these things go toward, and teaching, well, it comes down to respect, doesn't it? And I've always felt that perhaps the most important lesson we might learn, and interestingly enough, well, maybe it's not interesting, but it's interesting to me. Interestingly, it was one of the characteristics of Jean-Luc Picard that I most enjoyed exploring throughout the, altogether 14 years that I was playing that character. And it is the ability to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, to see the world from their point of view, to put aside your own needs and desires and beliefs and ambitions, and see how things look from another point of view. And I've often felt, ranging from the United Nations right down to the school playground, to be able to see the world through another pair of eyes is incredibly helpful in every possible way. So I think maybe I would emphasize that as being the most important thing that you can certainly bring to young people. Anyway, thanks for asking.
Thank you so much.
I just want to know, what was your, in Star Trek or any other filming experience, what was your most challenging filming experience in your opinion?
Well, filming can be challenging for different reasons. I have, for example, been so uncomfortable at times, I mean physically uncomfortable, that I have said, if somebody will take me out of this, I promise I will never act again. I can think of the armor in Excalibur. Someone mentioned that earlier. Ooh. You know, once we put the armor on in the morning, because it was so complex, we could not take it off until the end of the working day, which would be perhaps 12 hours later. I then used to lie in a bath and count the bruises and cuts, just from wearing it, you know. But nevertheless, it was a film I was really, really proud to be in, and I just took part in a documentary about the director, the great John Boorman, and particularly about Excalibur. But at times it was very uncomfortable, and there is nothing like sitting on a horse in full armor with the director insisting the light is not quite right for the shot that he wants, and it starts to rain, and rain is dripping off the leaves of the trees above you, onto your helmet, and down the back of your, inside the armor, so that whatever you're wearing underneath the armor gradually gets wetter and wetter and wetter. It's not nice. There are worse things in the world, nevertheless. The still suits in Dune. Ooh. Well, that's one aspect of filming that can be uncomfortable. There are times when tiredness becomes an issue, and sometimes not knowing if you're achieving what you wanted to achieve. But I hope I'm about 3 weeks away from starting work on a very low-budget film, which is filming on location in New York, a huge role, and a very challenging role for me, unlike anything I've ever done in my life before. And we've got 18 days to shoot this movie in. It's going to be a lot of work and I hope exciting. And so at the moment I'm feeling a combination of sort of terror and excitement about it, because it's something that I've never done anything like it before. This is a subject I could ramble on about all day, but I guess that's enough for now. Let's have another question. Thank you.
In The Next Generation, it seemed that Gene Roddenberry and the writers had a lot of fun putting Captain Picard in a lot of moral and ethical quandaries. Has your portrayal and discussion of these matters changed your outlook on life? And did you have any personal objections to any of the scripts that they wrote?
I understood the last part of that question. I'm not quite sure that I understood the first part of it. Could you sort of rephrase it?
Well, I guess there's just plenty of situations where you're calling someone in the ready room to get an unbiased or educated opinion on a situation. Have these affected you personally, the ethical and moral questions that are asked in the show?
It was a fortunate aspect of getting this job that the fundamental philosophy of Star Trek and of Gene Roddenberry, although I think perhaps mine and most of us, our points of view are a little more radical even than Gene, that they coincided with my own interests. I had been a member and an activist, for example, of Amnesty International for years before I came to do Star Trek. And many of the principles that Amnesty represents are very much there in Star Trek. And in fact, there was one episode when we worked with Amnesty International in Los Angeles on an episode which was to do with torture, because of course they catalogue around the world all these instances of people's human rights being breached, but through issues of torture. I would say that in all, perhaps Star Trek reinforced what I already believed rather than changed me. It was more in the professional aspect of my life that those changes occurred, I think, rather than in the intellectual or philosophical side of my life. Not that I'm an intellectual. Wow. Half an hour for this, and it's gone so fast. Let's have one more question, and if it's an interesting one, I'll talk about it. If it's not, we'll just take another one. So.
Okay, fair enough.
No pressure. No pressure. Except you are wearing a silly costume, and that's not encouraging at the moment.
Well, I have a Shakespeare question. Sorry, Trek fans.
Shakespeare question.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I belong to a local group called Shakespeare Aloud, and what we do is we do like table readings of plays, and then we do discussions afterwards. And some of the things that have come up in discussion is about the perceptions of characters and the perceptions of plays that get passed down, through the years. And what if there was things within the play and within the text that's maybe counter to what the perceptions of characters are? So, for instance, Lady Macbeth isn't really ambitious and evil. or Titus Andronicus is really secretly a black comedy satire and not a revenge tragedy. And so my question for you is, would you, like as an actor facing a production of Shakespeare, would for you it would be interesting to have this aspect of a play that's going to be turned on its head, it's not going to be something that people are expecting, or not going to be the tradition of typical Shakespeare? Or do you feel like, you know, there's just certain aspects of Shakespeare that have to be the way they are, this is how it's passed down, this is how it must be?
Good question. Yeah, the person behind you is angry. Are you with her?
I run the Shakespeare group.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's not too bad that you didn't get to ask a question. All right. A big yes to that, in meaning any approach that you take, and particularly an approach which is apparently contradictory or counter to what is obvious, is always valuable. Because one of the aspects of the great genius that was William Shakespeare was that his characters are complex, rich, full, at times ambiguous, never always completely clear-cut, and it has always been for, what now, nearly 60 years, yeah, 60 years, I was 12 when I first said Shakespeare aloud. It has been that ambiguity and complexity, along with the humanness of the characters, that has always interested me. And as I've got better at my job, which I'm still working at, then I find that the characters in Shakespeare's plays reveal themselves to me as even richer human beings, and even more complex, and even more ambiguous. So, yes, to take a completely contrary approach to a character, or to a scene, or to a speech, can be really rewarding. I mean, I'll give you one small instance, and this wasn't my idea, this was Sir Ian McKellen's idea. When I was preparing to rehearse Macbeth 4 years ago, I ran into Sir Ian on the street, and he's been a friend for many years, and soon after that we were to go into production together. And he said to me, can I just mention one thing to you? Because Sir Ian is perhaps the most famous Macbeth of my generation, along with Judi Dench. They did it about 35 years ago. He said, you know, the speech tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, the important word in that speech is and. And a light went off in my head, and I got it instantly. And I said, yeah, don't say anymore. I understand. And when people used to say to me, but the reading of that line, that was so, and I would always say, nothing to do with me, that's Sir Ian McKellen. Always give credit, you know, to the original idea. And what he was saying was, it is not that tomorrow seems to be so painful. It is the fact that there will be so many of them that will be difficult. And I love that insight. So, look, you can't harm Shakespeare. You know, so do whatever you like with it. And one of the great things to do with Shakespeare, great exercise, put it in your own words. Have the speech in your head and then rewrite it in your own head and articulate it. It's one of the very best exercises for learning that Shakespeare is not verbose and overcomplicated. He's actually incredibly precise and exact. Thank you very much, and thank you for the question.